Hello, my witchy friends. It's Figbury Witch ASMR, and happy summer solstice or litha. Today, I invite you to take it easy, recline on my picnic blanket, take a little wander through the woods with me, and let me show you some of the rituals that I incorporate into my practice to transition from spring into summer. But the first step is wearing something that makes you feel wonderful. And for me, I've always dreamed of owning a Son de Flor dress in this witchy pattern. Son de Flor sent me my dream dress for a video, and I am so grateful. I actually cried when I opened the package. This is their classic dress in brown check, and it is so gorgeous and adorable. And every dress comes with a little note in the pocket. So I actually discovered this while I was shooting this video. The poem that I got is called Hearts Like Wildflowers. I hope you are blessed with a heart like a wildflower, strong enough to rise again after being trampled upon, tough enough to weather the worst of the summer storms, and able to grow and flourish even the most broken places. So if you check the link in this video or in my bio, I have an affiliate link, and I highly recommend that you check them out. Go buy your dream linen dress. I cannot wait to wear this piece all year round. It's perfect for spring, but also it'll be wonderful with a little cardigan in the winter time, and just as it is in the fall. So in the summertime, I always make sure, as with every single one of the Sabbats in the wheel of the year, I make sure to start the season with a little walk in nature. But I look for flowers and I forage, and I usually pack a little picnic basket. So I thought it would be fun to show you what I keep in my basket. So first things first, when I arrive wherever I'm having my summer solstice picnic, I usually pick a couple flowers just to have around. So here we have a couple different kinds, and there weren't as many as usual where I was sitting, so I just grabbed some varieties. And I always pack a pretty full basket. It makes you feel like a little Victorian lady, super cottagecore, to pack a basket instead of a bag. And first things first, I have some fairy themed postcards. So I am currently in the middle of doing my mailouts for my Patreon, and I usually send a pretty large package of different paper ephemera and some recipes for for spells and things in my mailouts. But while sitting here as part of my summer solstice picnic, I'm going to work on these mailouts. There's also a mushroom here. But I've brought my fountain pen, and I'm just going to start working on those because I love mail. I feel like I'm always writing snail mail. No matter, where I am, I'm always prepared to write a postcard or a letter. So I've brought those with me. And I also have wrapped up in this bandana, which normally I would tie around my hat, but I've used it to cushion the glass that's within here. And I just have a very basic glass jar. And if you're a witch and you ever look in any witch's cupboard, you know that glass jars are one of the most important things to have. So I've brought this glass jar with me just because I might need it to put my flowers in, or if I'm gathering anything, some soil, sand, anything for spell work later. You need a mason jar to store the goods. I've always got a clean mason jar in my car, at least one or two, for foraging purposes. And for now, because we are having a picnic, it's nice to just have a little vase for your flowers so that they stay alive until you get them. Now, I've also got a little jar here, and we'll just open it up. And this is a spell jar that I've pre-prepared. So I've got calendula and lemon balm, hawthorn and African marigold petals in there, because litha at the summer solstice is all about warm sunshine, really vibrant, bright energy. So my spell jar, my very portable spell jar, has an orange candle in it, and that is the most ideal color if you're doing candle magic. To celebrate the summer solstice, you want to bring in that orange, lovely energy. So I'm lighting this, and then I will probably just place it off to the side and let it burn all the way down, as that's how candle magic works. So, my portable pocket candle magic spell jar. I've also got this really beautiful bag. This is my first set of tarot cards, and I keep it in this little pouch because the box that it came in was just very basic. So it's a velvet pouch with a moon embroidery on it. And these are just Rider-Waite tarot cards. They have very interesting backs with the kind of funny plaid, but they aren't Rider-Waite tarot. And I'll just give them a little shuffle here. And today, the day that I shot this video, the sunlight was so gloriously dappled, kind of peeking through the trees in that delightful way. And so it was really comfy. I even had a little nap in the shade. It was just about the most perfect start to the summer season. And there are a couple different spreads that you can do with your tarot cards at the beginning of each Sabbat in the Wheel of the Year. I'll show you one towards the end of the video. But as you can see, it's a basic set. And if you're new here, please do subscribe and join the coven. I'm a witchcraft historian and I do lots of videos just like this one, and we'd love to have you. So this is my Sabbats almanac. If you watched my other Wheel of the Year videos, I do these very regularly, 8 times a year, because there's 8 Sabbats. I buy the Sabbats almanac every year and consult it. There's some fun and creative ideas in it. Now you can also get the Farmer's Almanac. It's actually pretty useful for witchcraft. But here's the page for litha. You get that pencil illustration in there. It's really quite nice. And there's all sorts of different rituals and spells. Litha and the summer solstice are associated with fairy spirits. So a lot of their suggestions are all about the fae. So trying to tempt the fae. So really, really interesting things about fairy rings, protection from fairies. Litha is all about a really intense charge of magical energy in the air. So they've really picked up on that theme in the almanac, which is lovely. And so I've brought that with me in my picnic basket. This is kind of like what's in my bag, but it's, like witchy summertime edition. So I'll usually take a look at this, as I always do during the Sabbats, and use my journal. This is kind of like my grimoire, but it's a newer one. I started a new one, and it's about time, honestly. I really needed to start a new one. So I'll usually do a little bit of journaling, and this is the perfect book for it. Kind of lay on my stomach and recline, just take a look through everything. And I usually use the Sabbats almanac or my Spell a Day almanac as part of my journaling reflection, but I'll set intentions for the months ahead. And of course, I have a refreshing beverage. Normally, I would make this myself, but I just kind of ran out of time. So I grabbed the witchiest beverage that I could find, which is botanical sparkling water. And this one has juniper berries as part of the flavoring. So that's lovely. I ended up drinking it. It was really delicious. I also have a film camera. I am getting really into film. I swear, there's something so tangible about physical images that you hold. And I've even been developing them and putting them around my altar. I think that photography, if that's something that interests you, can be a part of your practice because it's a physical object. It becomes a talisman, right? So this is my little F-35 big finder Minolta, and it's quite old. It's from the 90s, I believe. but I'm bringing it with me to take some photos, which I'll probably post on my Patreon. And this is actually Ash Elizabeth Art's beautiful poetry book. You must go and support her. She makes all sorts of wonderful things, but this is her book of poems, and I'm currently reading them. And it's so aesthetically pleasing. Like, it's just such a gorgeous book of poetry. And I love reading poetry when I'm on a little picnic, because it's bite size, and sometimes things that are happening around you can be a bit distracting, so you don't really pay attention for long enough to read a novel, So that is everything in here. There's also a Sharpie, which I'll use to make sigils sometimes, depending on the mood that I'm in, or draw in the margins of my journal or underline things. You always need more than one medium. So let's take a closer look at kind of a flat lay of everything that I've brought with me, how it normally looks. And this is how simple witchcraft can be. I always get comments from people saying, well, like, how do I get started with witchcraft? Like, how do I practice magic? It's as simple as setting an intention and saying, this is a ritual. This is what I'm doing, right? It's been like that as far back as I can think in history. The rhythms of people's lives became part of their practice, out of necessity sometimes, but, in our modern world, it's quite different. So I'll usually sit here, have my spell jar going. It's kind of fun because the spell jar, I've taken it outside of my altar. And I'm wearing my very comfortable linen dress and my sun hat. It's a UV protected sun hat because I'm very sensitive to the sun. So, be careful out there if you are sun sensitive, because summer solstice marks the beginning of that. And I'll just relax, take my time, just try and reflect on where I've been and where I'm going. It's been a time of great transition for me, going from spring into summer. I often notice this, but it's been especially tumultuous for me this year. And it's a good time to just take it easy, kind of rest on your laurels. And so the candle will burn until it's all the way out. And in the meantime, let's take a look at some tarot cards. Now, I know many of you are probably familiar with the past, present, and future layout. So that's 3 cards drawn from a stack. But what I'm going to do is ground these in the past 3 Sabbats. So we have here, our last one was Beltane. Then we have our current day, which is litha, and then the future, you can adjust it so that it's the future. The future is our later summer Sabbat, and you can adjust it depending on the time of year. You can look at it kind of, it's like a calendar at a glance. But instead of just doing a vague past, present, future, I'll draw cards for the next 3, the past 3, or the past, the current, and the future. From where I was sitting, you could really see the sunlight coming through the leaves, and it was really lovely Just the slightest breeze to kind of carry you through the day. And of course, the birds were chirping and having a delightful time. And I got up to stretch a couple of times, twirl around here and there. It's always wonderful when you've got green space near you, but even if you only have a balcony, that's fine. Litha is also the peak time for berries, like strawberries and raspberries. So even going to your farmer's market or to the grocery store and picking up some fresh summer fruit can be a great way to celebrate the change of the seasons. Same with vegetables. And in a lot of my spell work, I make sure to use honey, so you can just have honey in your tea if you'd like. But honey is like the nectar of the gods, and that golden color evokes the heat of the sun. Now, I also have my little bandana on my hat, and this bandana, I've actually used it as part of my practice of veiling. So you can veil from negative influences just by using a bandana. It's really quite simple. Again, witchcraft doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be with things that you need to buy. It can be with regular household items. That is the way that it's meant to be. I'd love to know in the comments below how you celebrate Litha. And if you've made it this far in the video, I would love for you to check out my Patreon, support your local witch, join at one of the 3 tiers for all sorts of ad-free videos and audios, behind the scenes content, and all sorts of good and fun historical witchiness. So come hang out with us. But one of my favorite ways to spend the rest of the summer solstice with those lengthened hours in the day, those long periods of sunlight, is to meditate in a comfortable place in the woods. Usually looking at something colorful like these flowers, for example. Making sure that my feet are rooted in the ground. And I think a lot about historical fairies, fairy rings. It's believed that during Litha, fairies hold celebrations in their classic fairy rings. And I always like to kind of keep a lookout for them when I'm out and about in the woods. And so that's kind of part of what I do. Now, as the legend goes, even though the allure of fairies might be quite tempting or strong, you should always err on the side of caution around them, because they're mischievous and sometimes rather evil creatures. So you don't want to cross their paths. But you can wear protective clothing or carry salt with you to ward them off. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. Another classic thing to do is to create floral wreaths or garlands, which you can weave into your hair or you can place on your head as a kind of crown. So visiting your forest or your florist is an excellent way to figure out what you'd like to adorn upon your body to connect with the changing seasons. I also like to get up really early in the morning to watch the sunrise so that you're really present and grounded with the cycling of the sun. And as with Beltane, a bonfire is also a really nice way to celebrate. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that you have a lovely summer solstice, and that I see you again very soon. Good night.